Hi there, I'm Emma Hill, and this is my presentation for Yoga and the Child with ASD for Kinesiology 587. I am a special education teacher at the Timothy School, which is an approved private school for students with autism and communication disorders. Introduction and background. The focus in yoga therapy is on the state of physical fitness, mental alertness, and social adjustment, aligned with the biorhythm of nature and spiritual development. It thus aims for making the person a better contributor towards self, family, society, and nature at large. And yoga concerns physiological and psychological processes that change through our breathing, postures, and also relaxation and meditation. There are 4 sections of yoga practice: the yoga mantra, which is repetition of a chant, vowel sound, or music, and most commonly known as the Om sound. It is shown to slow down breathing, focus attention, and provide a feeling of calmness. Pranayama are deliberate breathing exercises, so using the breath to calm the body builds support for speech and posture. Props can also be used to help teach the breathing exercises. So you can use a pinwheel to show an actual movement of the breath. You can also use bubbles, and we can also use finger breathing, which I'll show at the end. There's also asana, which are your typical yoga poses that you usually think of. They're static and dynamic poses that stabilize the mind, involve bending, twisting, and stretching. They provide exercises to increase the proprioception, or their understanding of body in space and how their joint moves within their body. Savasana is the deep relaxation, and it can be guided by music, scent, or blankets, considering what the child would prefer. It allows one to calm the body and better organize their thoughts. So yoga as a therapy is used as a complementary and alternative medicine. So no one intervention has been proven to alleviate the symptoms of ASD, but studies have used yoga therapy along with ABA as an intervention. It is non-competitive and it's non-invasive. It provides an environment where risk-taking and self-confidence can increase, and there are no side effects to implementing yoga into your routine. It involves 4 sections of yoga, and they're introduced at the child's level and easily modified to meet any needs regarding the time on task, how long they're able to practice yoga, their flexibility, and also their comprehension of verbal skills. Some previously published research. The first research is Integrated Approach to Yoga Therapy. It was conducted over 2 academic school years with 6 children. They were given 15 hours of ABA training and 5 hours of yoga a week. It was seen that no improvement was made after 12 weeks, but there was more breath awareness. After 1 year, there was improved eye gaze, sitting tolerance, body posture, receptive skills to verbal commands, and the teachers saw more alertness in the classroom. After 2 years, students began imitating vocal chants, sitting closer to the teacher, and they greeted the therapists. And also parents reported an increased interaction with family. Another study is meditation on the soles of the feet, which taught students to shift their intense emotions that might trigger an aggressive behavior to a neutral stimulus, which was the soles of their feet. This was a small sample study, only 6 students altogether under 2 trials, ages 13 to 18. However, it did show that reduced aggressive behaviors was maintained after 4 years, and there were fewer physical aggression, and they were also maintained after 3 years. There are 2 pilot research studies on multimodal yoga, dance, and music therapy. So 24 students ages 3 to 16 over an 8-week program. The parent questionnaires reported significant change from pre to post-test results on 2 behavior rating scales. And what's interesting is that in this study, the students that were aged 5 to 12 had significantly greater post-treatment scores, suggesting that at this age, students may have a greater receptivity to movement and sound activities. The next one is My Mind, which focused on breathing, mindfulness exercises, and yoga. It involved both the students and the parents. So the students participated in My Mind, while the parents participated in mindful parent training. Students reported an increase in quality of life, but no changes in worry, core symptoms, or mindful awareness. Parents also reported no change in the core symptoms, but did report an increased social skills, including responsiveness, communication, cognition, motivation, and eye contact. The next is creative yoga intervention. This compared yoga therapy to academic therapy. It's 24 students, 5 to 13 years old, split into the two groups. 8-week program with 2 45-minute sessions with the therapist and model, and 2 25-minute sessions for the parents to complete at home with DVD and materials provided. The yoga focused on breathing exercises, poses, relaxation, games, and songs that went along with some known music and stories. And the academic sessions included a themed reading, as well as arts and crafts that went along with it. So the results show that yoga improved students' gross motor skills as predicted, but not their balancing, and no significant improvement in fine motor skills. The academic group increased their fine motor skills, but there was no significant improvement in their gross motor skills as predicted. Both groups did improve their visual imitation skills, and a deficit in visual imitation is an issue for students with ASD. It makes it difficult for children to learn through observation, which is an effective way to learn. However, it was important to also note that IQ did not positively relate to a change in imitation for gross motor skills. So students with a low IQ can learn the gross motor skills in that short amount of time, the 8 weeks. However, there were less improvements seen in fine motor skills, which might take a little bit more time to develop. The next study is efficacy of structured yoga intervention for sleep, gastrointestinal, and behavioral problems in India. So this was focused in India. And this was really important for me because I see a lot of these issues in my classroom where students have different sleep schedules. They have some GI issues, and they also have, restricted or overeating diets. So this focused on 68 students ages 5 to 16 with 3-month study. 2 groups where one received 75 minutes of yoga before school, and 1 control group where they continued their school day as normal. A yoga therapist with master's degree developed the program, and the results were measured through 3 parent questionnaires pre and post intervention for sleep, food and digestion, and behavior. So the results showed that the yoga group reported an improved and uninterrupted sleep within 1 month of the study. It helped family members and also mothers take care of the children better when they were able to have the same sleep schedules. Significant positive results for yoga group in the food and digestion and behavior questionnaire. They noticed a more balanced food intake and less overeating. Increased eye contact with parents because they sat in front of each other during the session, so it increased the time for eye-to-eye contact. And the aggression and self-injurious behaviors decreased. So there are no changes seen in the control group, and this study supports that yoga programs can be introduced in the school setting with a large group. Get Ready to Learn program is something that we'll also talk about a little bit later during the implementation section. But this study focused on 46 students ages 5 to 12. There were 2 groups with 8 classrooms. So 4 in a control group where they didn't implement the yoga, but then 4 classrooms that did implement the yoga. It's a 16-week program with daily sessions that lasted 15 to 20 minutes. So the results were that significant reductions in irritability, lethargy, and there's less hyperactivity. There were lower rates of social withdrawal and noncompliance in the Get Ready to Learn group. And the researchers suggest that Get Ready to Learn could maximize academic engagement and optimize the classroom time. So this is a really important study because it shows that even shorter sessions, 15 to 20 minutes, as compared to the other studies that had 75 or 90-minute sessions, these shorter sessions can be beneficial to students, and it's pretty easy to implement 15 to 20 minutes into a classroom schedule. The last study is effects of yogic intervention in India. So 30 students, ages 5 to 16, 3-month program, daily 1-hour sessions. And the sessions included chanting, joint loosening, asanas for breathing, enhancing and relaxation, pranayama, and it ended with chanting. The results show that pre and post tests results from the Childhood Autism Rating Scale, which measured 15 different items, and there was a significant reduction in these symptoms of autism after the 3-month study. So what are some of the benefits of yoga interventions for students with ASD? First, in physical fitness, there was a noticeable change in their motor skills by increasing their strength, their flexibility, and their balance. There's increased cardiorespiratory through the breathing exercises, increased proprioception, which again is understanding one's body and space and how it moves, benefits for gastrointestinal health, such as spinal twists, which help promote colon health. There is less resistance to these exercises as seen with other physical activities like biking, using the treadmill, or lifting weights. And that's something that I've seen in my classroom. It's easier for my students to follow along with a yoga video or yoga instruction rather than trying to get them to walk on the treadmill at the Y for 20 minutes. There's also reduced lethargy, and also their better sleeping patterns are great for physical fitness. There were also significant benefits found in communication skills. So many studies reported an increase in social communication, including eye-to-eye contact, socialization with family and peers, imitation skills, and lower rates of social withdrawal. Some studies also reported increased verbal receptive skills, such as understanding of emotion and a better understanding of emotions. Increased ability to receive verbal commands and related to the spatial perception. So when they were given a direction to put their left hand up, they understood it better with just the verbal prompt rather than a physical prompt needed. Benefits in behavioral skills. Working to improve brain function directly through yoga may improve behavior better than focusing on the problem. So that quote kind of tells you that if by incorporating some yoga therapy into any behavioral intervention, it could improve it better than just focusing on trying to change that behavior. In the research, it was noticed that attention and on-task behavior increased, such as the sitting tolerance for the actual intervention. There was a reduction in aggressive and self-injurious behaviors, decreased frequency of maladaptive behaviors in community and classrooms, such as the repetitive movements. And then another interesting study was the student perspective of yoga intervention. So 6 students reported through interviews after 4 sessions of the Get Ready to Learn yoga program. They provided positive response on behavior such as using words to describe them feeling good, happy, calm, relaxed, in control, and focused. And it also measured the self-efficacy of kinesthetic recall, which is them feeling proud about being able to remember and describe the different things they learned during the yoga practice, such as practicing the yoga at home and describing their favorite poses and breathing techniques. Justification for yoga therapy. Who does it benefit? In my opinion, it benefits the student, the parents and family members, as well as the teachers and the support staff. So it's a complementary and alternative medicine that can be used with other interventions. It's non-invasive and has no side effects. It's easily adapted to individual skill levels and abilities. It requires low cost equipment that is portable. So the only equipment that you need are yoga mats, possibly yoga blocks if needed, and possibly a blanket if the child would like that for Savasana. It's non-competitive and it addresses multiple areas of deficits, such as the physical fitness aspect, the communication skills, the behavioral skills, increasing time on task, and reducing challenging behaviors. The breathing exercises can help a student find calmness, release the physical and emotional tension, and gain a better understanding of oneself and how they relate to others in the world around them. So how to implement yoga therapy in a classroom. So implementing yoga therapy. First, you would research quality programs that were developed for students by trained yoga therapists. And hopefully they would address all 4 areas of yoga, including the chanting, the breathing, the poses, as well as the relaxation. Connect with your students' therapists, teachers, and parents to create a supportive community. So ensuring that there are multiple people providing support for this therapy will make it even more beneficial. It's also good to encourage parent involvement and have them start a yoga routine as well. Set clear expectations and routines. What am I supposed to do? How will I know when it is finished? And what is next after this task is finished? The best way to do that is to create visual schedules. There are specific schedules which include pictures for each step, including each specific pose. Or there's general schedules which are an overview of the session, such as warm-up, breathing, poses, relaxation, and music. Create a predictable and comfortable environment. So the same place for their mats and the same place for their shoes when they come in and when they leave. Make sure that the area has few distractions and it's a sensory neutral space. So that means there's not a lot of outside noises that are interfering, and the child can be as noisy as they need to be because they're allowed, that's their space to practice yoga. It's also good to set visual boundaries with their mat and provide any visual supports. You can change up the order of poses. So while students with autism prefer a routine, it's not great to have the same thing over and over for each practice. You can include the same pictures, include the same poses, but changing up the order of where you do them will help them to stay focused and allow them to learn a little bit of flexibility in routine while they're practicing. Of course, warn the child of any changes ahead of time and understand the individual needs for sensory input. So understand if they're looking for more sensory input or if they're trying to avoid it. Some materials that can be beneficial could be having a blanket can provide a little bit more sensory, or you may remove the blanket if they don't want as much sensory input. And also, an important part that came up in my research was non-compliance or challenging behaviors can be seen as communication, saying that their needs aren't being met. So again, with the sensory input, perhaps having the type of music is too much for them and maybe turning the music off is more beneficial. And of course, patience. Yoga is a lifelong practice that you learn little steps throughout each session. And as we saw in some of the research, 8 weeks is maybe not enough time for them to fully learn, but the 2-year intervention had significant results. So it's something that you can definitely stick with and provide a safe space to learn. Some more things about implementing. So yoga therapy is easily adaptable. It requires few inexpensive props, and it's also portable. So chair yoga does not require a mat. Breathing exercises can be done at the desk at any time. You don't even need to move your classroom around. And there's also a lot of adapted books and videos that provide yoga therapy. Yoga therapy can be completed in a one-to-one, small group, or large group settings. So the setting will depend on the student's needs and abilities at that time. Modifications can be made so that yoga is accessible outside, in a large room, in the classroom, or even at home. So there's a lot of pre-recorded videos online, and there's also, we did Zoom sessions during virtual instruction, which was a really cool experience. And then once a program is established, anybody can implement yoga therapy if provided the training to do so, and a yoga therapist is available for questions. But to become an actual yoga therapist, you will need 800 hours of training and certifications. Implementing yoga therapy during virtual instruction. So at the Timothy School, we do have a teacher who is a certified yoga therapist, and she was also a special education teacher. So she has the best of both worlds in that sense. And she developed a program for us a couple years ago that we first began implementing in person, but I wanted to share what she created for our students during virtual instruction, because it's also something that can be implemented in the classroom easily through, a smartboard and a mat. The first thing that she introduces are the yoga rules, providing the visualization of what the rules are: quiet mouth, calm body, listen to teacher, and stay on mat. She then created a schedule. So this is the general schedule: breathing, a game, a video, relaxing music, and finished. So this has the general visual at the top and the visual choice board for breathing in the main section here. So for breathing, you're going to pick your breath. So for those students who are at home, they were given a thing of bubbles and a pinwheel to use. But when we were in school or hybrid, we couldn't remove our masks. So she also incorporated the hand breathing. So you could pick which breathing you wanted depending upon where you were. She then included a matching game with pictures of the poses from Good Morning Yoga. So here's an example here on the side of one of the poses, and the students will get to go up and click to and try to find a match. So incorporating a memory game and a fun game that also reintroduced them to the poses. So after that, there was a video created by the yoga therapist and special education teacher, Vicki Sylvester, on YouTube based on either good morning or good night yoga. After the video, she then played relaxing music where the students would then lay in savasana, laying on their back or however they're most comfortable, and provided them a chance to go into that deep relaxation that's guided through music. And this should have been beforehand. Here are some of the poses from the video that Vicki has. She pairs the visual of the pose with the name of the pose through audio, as well as some simple verbal directions. So for example, for our first picture here, she would say arms out and then foot back. So instead of saying, oh, get into warrior 3, which is abstract, she would provide the actual concrete verbal directions. And then once everything was done, the students were given this slide, it said finished, and it's also paired with the verbal namaste. Here is a second example of a general visual with the specific visual poses at the top. So here you see easy seat, twist, and tabletop. And this is actually from a recorded video where she also provides the visual in the top corner. And there's also other videos that we were provided that provide this still picture. So here's the still picture, and she would also be doing the visual in the video, and it also provides the label as well. So that's how yoga therapy was implemented into our school, but there are also other programs that are made to implement into a school. That's a project. So the Get Ready to Learn project, they incorporate a lot of different things that's for yoga, including mindfulness, breathing, postures, relaxation, as well as call and response singing. It's been implemented in the classroom, clinics, and private practices through the United States and Europe since 2008. It's researched, backed, and developmentally sequenced sensory motor-based yoga routines, which help to create a positive behavioral intervention support. So there are 3 different series in the Get Ready to Learn project. There's the foundation, which includes warm-up exercises. It's best for young learners, typical, and those with developmental delays. There's the floor series, which provides a variety of postures for all levels of abilities. And seated series, which was originally designed for non-ambulatory students, but it's also meant to support the floor practice or where classroom space may be limited. So the Get Ready to Learn project is for all students with modifications for physically and/or behaviorally challenged students. And so what's included when you purchase this program? There's a staff training, so 2-day on-site or online training. Streaming services include full access to their library of videos. There's support, which is online or on-site coaching for program support, individualized questions and concerns. And there's program resources, including how-to tutorials and weekly data collection options to provide data collection for behavioral interventions. Lastly, I wanted to introduce yoga and special education teachers. So this is an intervention that reduces burnout. And as an education, as a special educator, I found this very interesting. So there was a study in Nigeria that found that special education teachers reported higher burnout symptoms when compared to general education teachers. And that's possibly because of the greater workload that is also that is normally felt by special educators, which includes creating adaptive materials and implementing IEPs. So some of the burnout symptoms that these special educators reported were emotional tiredness, cognitive fatigue, and chronic bodily weakness or physical fatigability. So this study included an intervention for cognitive behavioral therapy and yoga, 2 hours once a week for 12 weeks. There was an intervention group and then a waitlist group. So the waitlist group did not receive intervention for the first 12 weeks, but then did for the, they did once the first session was finished. So the CBT incorporated identifying and assessing unhelpful beliefs about their work experiences and changing their outlook to be more positive. And the yoga reduced the physiological symptoms. And in their findings, there were significantly reduced levels of stress on the Malak burnout inventory for educators as compared to the control group. So with my activity, I introduce both student activities and teacher activities or adult activities. You'll find on the worksheet that there is a student activity that includes finger breathing and head, shoulder, hip movement. So I'll provide a video that goes through these exercises. But another cool thing I wanted to show you was this gift breathing. So I use this with my students, especially when we started virtual instruction. It provides them a way to visually see the shape expand to breathe in and then to decrease as they breathe out. I love using that as an introduction to a one-on-one session or during an activity that's maybe not preferred. And then in the teacher activity, you will find a video that describes equal parts breathing, alternate nostril breathing, and also chair pigeon poses. So I thought that this was a great activity for anybody to implement during their day, whether they're feeling like they need a little bit of relaxation, for the equal parts breathing. The alternate nostril breathing is great for anyone who might get a little anxious, especially before maybe recording a presentation. And the chair pigeon pose is great for those of us who sit a lot during the day and who maybe aren't able to get up and move a lot. This helps stretch out, I believe, the IT band, the size of the hip, and just provides a little bit more flexibility to our typical day. So thank you so very much for watching my presentation, and I will provide the activity page that includes the video and links for all of these things. Thank you so much.